everyone, I'm Rebecca and welcome back to my sewing room. So today we are going to continue on with the making of my 1888 Daisy dress, my fancy dress costume. If you have not seen my other videos about this costume, this is what I am working on. This is a drawing from the magazine Bazar, again 1888, and it is a fancy dress costume that I have been recreating as a part of #Historical Halloween 2020. All of my other videos on this project are linked below, as well as a playlist to everyone's historical Halloween videos, because there have been a lot of people participating in the #Historical Halloween 2020, and everyone has made such amazing projects and videos on that. So definitely check that out below, and you can also search the hashtag on Instagram for non-costume people who are also participating. When we left off last week, I was getting close to finishing the bodice and getting close to finishing the skirts, but still have all of the decorating to go. And so today what I've already done is I've started a little bit on the hat because the bodice was driving me crazy. So I wanted to give myself a little bit of a break from that and go over to the hat. So I am using a colonial style straw base that I got at, like, I think a thrift store or an estate sale or something like that. And right now it's just a plain base. What I'm doing is I'm applying some of the giant daisies that I cut out onto the hat. Now in the drawing, you really can't see any sort of hat base underneath. So I decided that what that means is that I need to put daisies on both sides of the hat and sandwich them around the straw. So I've cut out some daisies that are like slightly larger than the hat, and those will go on top. And then I've cut out other daisies that are just about the size of the hat, and those will go on the bottom, and there'll be 3 of each. I'm in the process still of doing the snipping of the petals for 2 of the larger ones, but I've done 4 of them already, and I've cut out the centers, and those will all go onto this hat. I'm still waffling about whether or not I want to glue it or not. I don't know of a better way to do it than gluing it, but I don't have a lot of these, and by a lot I mean I have 1 other of these types of bases, and I know they can be kind of spendy if you can't find them at a thrift store, so I don't know that I really want to glue stuff on it, but the idea of sewing all of this on it also just sounds atrocious. So I'm not sure exactly what I'll do. I'll have to see, but that is how that's going. And then I also started on a structure for the flower that she's holding in her hand. And it was actually a failed experiment for the hat because that hat is just a little bit larger than I wanted it to be. And so I was trying to see, I have this straw braid that was laying around and all coiled up that I think I took off of some old straw hat. I must have. And so I thought, oh, well, maybe I can coil that back into a hat and then use that as the base for my hat. But it wound up being too small for the hat. Also, I don't know how to make the crown of a hat. I couldn't get it to coil that tightly. So I think it's because this came off of like a wider brimmed hat, I think. I don't really remember where it came from, but I think that's what was going on. And so yeah, it just didn't work for the hat. But I realized it's just about the perfect size for the flower that she carries in her hand. And that is going to need structure too. So again, what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to sandwich flower pieces on both sides. I'm not sure if I'm going to use 6 total, or maybe I can get away with a little bit less, but they're all going to be sandwiched on here with centers on this side because it's a little bit concave. And then this is a dowel left over from my Hussif dress, and the needles on my Hussif dress, not a dress itself. And I'm going to somehow, probably with hot glue, attach this through so that it can stand. So this can be the stem. It's going to be painted green and have some leafy bits off of it. Not sure how I'm doing that yet. I literally might just take leaves that I have from other flowers because I don't usually use leaves on hats and just wrap them around there. But that is going to be the daisy that I hold, so the prop daisy. So that is what I've done so far today on this project. I am also still needing to press the hem into place and to stitch the pieces of the bow together. And so I hope to accomplish both of those by the end of today, but I also need to edit last week's vlog. So I am not sure how much I'll get done, but it's only like about 4:30. So I think I have some time to work on stuff and get some more accomplished because my time on this costume is running out. In any case, I am going to go get to work. All right, so I finished the little bit around the sleeves of the bodice, and I also added the trim on the neckline, and that means that the bodice is now done, other than adding the daisies on the shoulders and like the ribbon, which that is probably going to be the very, very last thing that I do, even after all of the skirt daisies and everything. So yeah, this is now done for a while. Oh, and I also moved the bars onto the back. So yeah, that was the other finishing touch. And now I think it is time to go eat dinner and then come back and do lots more stuff, because that's just my life today. And I have so much work to do on this project. Next up, I believe I will be working on attaching all of the different pieces of the bow together. It's already all pinned in place, so it should be pretty simple. And then maybe I will work on the hem of the skirt, is my thought for the rest of the evening. So I will see you again later. So it is the end of the night on Sunday, and the hem is fully pressed and pinned into place, and a quarter of it is stitched now, but I'm a very slow hand sewer and it's a rather large hem. I think it's a total of about 220 inches around, so deciding to hand sew it is not a good idea, but of course that's what looks better, so that's what it has to be. And I will finish it before I can put the daisies on, which is kind of the main issue there. The other thing that I did is that the bow is fully assembled. I think it looks super cute, and including stitch to the waistband, and I actually even put the hooks on the waistband. I still need to put the bars on. My mark got kind of faint, and so I think that's where it needs to be, but I wasn't positive, so I decided not to stitch the bars on yet, but all of that is nicely stitched together and otherwise done. So it needs 3 bars, and that's it. The only other thing that I've done since the last time that I talked to you was that I did cut out the petally bits of those last 2 circles for the hat that I had not already done. So that is everything on my update for today. I don't know how much sewing I'll get done tomorrow because I still have to edit last week's vlog so that it can go out on Tuesday last week. So I will hopefully be back with you soon with the remainder of this project because, yeah, time's running out. It is now Monday evening. Dinner has been eaten. I finished editing my vlog from last week, and I have finished the hem on the overskirt, which means that I can now finally move on to putting the flowers on around the hem. So let me show you how I'm kind of processing that through. So this is what it's looking like currently. I just have 4 of the flowers pinned to around the bottom of the skirt in the back. And the way that I did this was I took the math for if there are 16 flowers, since that is what I initially planned on, even though I have only made 13 of them so far. And using that math and the width of the skirt, I divided the skirt width by how many flowers there are, 16, and I wound up with 14 5/8 inches, and that means that it should be 14 5/8 inches between each flower. So I pinned these 4 in place with that spacing, and now I have to decide if I like it or not, because I'm not sure. I just feel like it's looking both a lot and also like it was looking very spaced out before I put it on the dress, as you can see there. But then once it falls all together, it's just kind of looking a lot. So now I'm wondering if maybe I don't need 16, because this seems like more than what's on the drawing. I don't know, that just seems like it's flying a little bit freer. And this isn't. I am also realizing that I probably have to do a lot more of like actually sewing on than I kind of initially thought, where I thought I could maybe just do a few tacks and be done. I think I'm going to have to sew down like the bulk of the top petals, probably right down the middle like I did on the petals, and then probably at least a few down at the bottom too. I'm thinking like center and then maybe down here, maybe even on the sides. I don't know, because right now obviously just with the 3 pins in, they are just kind of fluttery and too much. So I think I have to play with the spacing a bit more and figure out just how many need to go and how far apart they should be. But I'm probably going to do them about an inch up from the hem like they currently are pinned. It's worrying me a little bit that the underskirt is showing beneath this hem, and I think that is hopefully because the waistbands are not sitting the same. Right now I have the under petticoat underneath the bodice and the overskirt over the bodice, so it's sitting up a little bit higher. So I'm hoping that that is the solution there, because otherwise that hem is showing down at the bottom, which I don't like. Anyway, I'm gonna play around with daisies and I will let you know what I figure out. So funny story, but I think that 13 is actually the number that I want out of these. I have tried a few different measurements. Basically, I took my hem measurement and I divided it by, again, first I started with 16 and that just seemed too close together. So then I went to 15 daisies and it was still way too close together. So then I went to 14 daisies and it seemed like pretty good, but I was curious to see how 13 would look. And I think 13 might be the winner. It's a real toss-up between 13 and 14. I kind of like the way that with 13 daisies, each one of them seems to be able to have their own space, and then kind of the volume of the skirt rests in between the daisies, but they kind of fall and are each able to kind of show themselves. Again, I'm gonna have to sew down all of those petals because clearly that's not working. I did change where I had pinned it, so it's a little bit more pinned out towards the side, but yeah, it's just, I'm gonna have to sew like most of them, at least around the top half. Anyway, so I think 13 is actually the number, which kind of makes me happy because this is like a very delightful springtime outfit for Halloween. And so 13, at least it's like, there's one spooky element because there's only 13 daisies, or I don't know, something silly like that. But also it means that I don't have to make any more of these daisies. So I'm happy about that. So yeah, I think I'm gonna do 13. 13 means that they are spaced just a squidge over 18 inches. It's like 18.07 inches. So yeah, that's great. I'm gonna go ahead and pin all of those in place. I'm gonna take it off of the form and pin them on flat because that just seems better. And I'm probably going to pin down all of the petals because you can see what's happening. And then I'll put it back on the form to see how it's looking and then sew it all into place. All of the daisies are now pinned onto the bottom of the dress. I did wind up actually making another one, so there are 14 total, and they are 16.75 inches apart. Well, actually, some of them are 16.5 inches because I got part way around and then wound up with like 13.5 inches left, which, you know, didn't work. I should have obviously marked first, or marked them all first, I should say, and then pinned, but I wound up having to repin like 6 of them. So anyway, those are all on. But here's the thing, with them only being pinned on and it already being Monday night and not having really done much on the hat or the prop daisy, or what else do I have? I need the shoulder daisies, and I need the clasp on the necklace and hooks and bars. I guess, I don't know. I'm a little bit worried that this isn't gonna work. Or at least it's not going to work for the reveal video coming out on Thursday night, midnight, going into Friday, because that means that I have to shoot everything, take pictures of everything on Wednesday, and tomorrow I'm going to have almost no sewing time because I have to work at work tomorrow, and then I have to run all of the errands that I've been putting off all week while trying to get this thing finished. So I know that you are watching this in the future of the reveal video, but I'm not feeling that hopeful for it coming out at its normal time. It's really weird that you're going to be watching this after that already comes out. That's not how I normally work. I'm down to the wire, folks. Oh my god, Halloween is so soon. Anyway, before I get delirious, I have to go to bed, and I will come back to this tomorrow. I have filmed very little of the hat making process, but it's actually done. I think I mentioned before that I had made a bunch of really, really large daisies, and I don't even think I measured necessarily how far across these daisies are, but they're very large. There are actually two sizes of daisy here, and I mixed them up. I was originally going to do the smaller daisies that were like exactly the size of the brim on the bottom side and then the larger ones on the top, but I decided it kind of wanted more texture than that. So I have two large and one small on top and two small and one large on the bottom. And so what I did here is I assembled the daisy kind of like the regular daisies. It has the satin stitching around the yellow part of the inside, and I started to do the regular stitching up the petals like I had on the skirt. And then I realized that that was superfluous because I intended to stitch them to the hat. And mostly that's because I can't always unpick the stitches and then like they won't scar. Whereas if I ever want to take it off and it has glue, just because this is potentially a hat that I might want to remake, I didn't really want there to be really glue used. So I did use a tiny bit of glue. There is hot glue only inside the crown because no one's going to see that. So I did glue the inside of the flower to the inside of the crown, but otherwise all of this is actually stitched by machine, which is what you just saw me sewing. And so I just stitched a line on all of the exterior layer flowers, kind of like how I did with the other ones. It's just the exterior petals, and that is really holding all of the bottom in place. If I find that there's something else that I have to tack, I will, but this was all done with the machine, and I only bent one needle, and it was a super old needle anyway, so that was great. And then I flipped it over, and I didn't want to stitch down all the way on this because I wanted the top to still have kind of a fluttery feeling, which this does have a little bit of movement still. And so on here, all I did was I stitched just a tiny little bit on each one, just enough to hold it down. So it's like about 3/4 of an inch probably on each petal, right at the edge. And that's all it is. The top is actually like not secured at all. I debated about gluing it and then I didn't. And I probably should have done something because it's like a little bit wiggly, but I think it works and I think it looks pretty cute and pretty right. The other thing that I did tonight was that I stitched all of the daisies onto the hem of the dress. So that took forever, mostly because I wound up having to stitch in more places than I had even intended. So basically the top cross and the middle cross, those are stitched all the way through the petal, and then all of the others are just stitched right at the end, kind of like I did on the top of the hat, where it's like about an inch or so is stitched on every single petal. Well, every single of the outer layer petal, the inner layers aren't stitched, but that way I can get some motion still from like some of the centers not being attached and those under layers not being attached, but the over layers are all on there. Originally I was just gonna do the top and then like half of the bottom, like 1, 2, skipping every other basically, and they were going all over the place. So I had to change that and wound up stitching every single petal. So that took like 2 hours, I think, maybe even more. It was ridiculous, but it's done now and I'm feeling a lot better about things because that means that the dress is actually like almost entirely done, or the whole project is almost entirely done. I still have to put the shoulder flowers on the shoulders, but first I have to figure out what I'm doing with the green ribbon. So this green ribbon goes underneath the flowers on the shoulders, but then it tucks into the sash at the waist. So I think what I'm gonna have to do is I'm going to have to figure out the length that I need, cut it to length, attach it to the shoulders, but just like leave it loose, and then kind of pin it under the sash in place because the bodice tucks under the skirts, but this goes over the skirts. And I don't have clasps or closures on anything, but otherwise the only thing that I need to do besides that, I think, is the prop daisy. So I'm feeling a little better. I think maybe I might actually finish this in time. We shall see, because it's Tuesday night at midnight. Okay, good night. So I am currently in the process of making my prop daisy, the one that she holds in her hands. This one is actually a 4-layer daisy, and then I've made another one for the other side. And what I've done here is that I have 3 large daisy circles that are just about a 1/2 inch larger on each side than my straw base. This is that base again that I made. And those are layered with one of the small daisies left over from the skirt, just 1 layer on top, and then with the circle. So I am going to do the satin stitch right here, and then do the veins, if you will, on just the small petals, because if you can see that, those are smaller petals. That's that smaller flower. And then I'm going to just glue this to either side of the straw base. And part of that is because I don't know how to sew it and still be able to get the stem in there. This is the stem. I decided not to use the dowel because I realized when I went to go pull out leaves that these leaves were already on a stem. So I actually combined 2 stems together because this one only had the 2 big leaves and I wanted more leaves further down. So I've got the 2 big leaves from the main stem and then smaller leaves. This one is like wrapped around, and I wrapped them with the satin ribbon that will go on the front of the bodice to A, make sure there's not any pokey bits on it, and B, just give me something nicer to hold than the fake flower stem. So this will get glued into the flower and hopefully be secure. I'm a little bit nervous about that. Part of me is like, maybe I should actually zigzag stitch this in and glue it, which I might do, and then glue the flowers on. So lots of gluing in the future, and I need to finish this stat because I need to take pictures of the costume this afternoon, and otherwise the video won't be released on time. So I need to film my reveal, and I still need time to like get ready for that and do that while it's still daylight and all that. So yeah. Oh, and nothing is going to have closures for that reveal. Well, I mean, the back of the bodice does, but neither skirt will, and the sash will not. And I also still have to figure out how to put the daisy and the ribbons on the bodice. So yeah, I have a lot to do in like a couple hours. I better get working. So I was actually able to sew the stem on using my piping foot and a zigzag. I started with a 5mm width stitch and did have to go up to a 7, which is the max on my machine. And if you've been around my channel a little bit, you probably know that I still haven't gotten my machine fixed, and it's not working on the farthest right side, as in it can't do the largest size zigzag, and that's why there's weird skippy stitches. But overall, I mean, it's holding it in place really well, and I'll add a little bit of glue as well, but I really am happy that I was able to get it stitched too, because I just don't know about the glue being the only supporter on this stem. So anyway, that is together. The flowers are all stitched, and I can now glue them to the weird plate stem flower holder thing. And that will be the end of this prop. So it's rather large and heavy for this stem. Like, it just kind of wants to fall a little. And it actually wound up being rather more flush to the straw than I wanted it to be after I glued it. So I kind of ruffled it up as much as I could, but it's still like pretty flat. But I think it will work, at least for, you know, it's a costume prop, like it'll be fine. So I guess that means, other than putting the daisies and ribbons on the shoulders and closures, you know, I am done. So I better go put the daisies and stuff on the shoulders. Future Rebecca here. So at this point, I was scrambling like mad to get everything wearable to be able to do the photo shoot on Wednesday of last week. Now it's Sunday when I'm editing this video. So I didn't film anything after that last clip that you just saw of me finishing the flower prop. That said, I then pinned the shoulder flowers and the ribbons into place, and when I put everything on, I pinned the waistbands of everything and the sash, and it was wearable. which means that I was able to go out Wednesday late afternoon, get that golden hour sun, and have my friend Rachel help me with my filming needs and get everything filmed for the reveal that you hopefully already watched. If you didn't watch that, I will link that reveal up above and down below so that you can go see the finished product, and I will put a little clip in right here just as a tiny teaser if you haven't already watched that video. So here is the finished daisy dress. Alright, so now that the daisy dress is finished and done, I promised you in my last vlog that I would also share some photos and video from the spooky shoot that we did now over a week ago last weekend. And for that shoot, we went to the old Tacoma Cemetery, which is absolutely gorgeous. If you are in the Puget Sound area, it's a beautiful, beautiful place. So this cemetery dates back from, I believe the earliest graves, I want to say, are from the 1880s. So for the Pacific Northwest, it's really old. It contains people like the founder of Tacoma, and some of the graves are really, really beautiful. I feel like it just makes a wonderful setting for kind of that spooky vibe. We lucked out with some glorious sun, got the golden hour in, and we were able to take some pictures. This is the second time that we've been there, by the way. We did go also the weekend after last Halloween, and so this time I kind of knew what light I was looking for and all of that sort of stuff. So here are some of the pictures and videos from our spooky shoot. Lion and I hope that you really enjoyed this video, both the spooky shoot section and the finishing of the daisy dress. If you liked this video, please go ahead and click the thumbs up icon. And if you'd like to see more videos like this from me, please go ahead and click subscribe and the little bell icon to be notified every time I post a video. I do post videos here on YouTube twice a week, with my sewing vlogs like this on Tuesdays and regular content out on Fridays. But I post every day over on Instagram, so please go follow me on Instagram. That's at Lady Rebecca Fashions. And I also have a link to my Ko-fi account down below if you would like to support my channel further. Once again, thank you so much for joining me this week. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you very soon in my next video. Happy sewing!